Have you ever wondered why everything in life constantly changes, and whether we can find peace amidst such turbulence? The story of impermanence is not just a philosophy but a key to unlocking a life of serenity and happiness. Join us as we explore the profound lessons from Buddhist teachings to understand that letting go and cultivating compassion can help us navigate the storms of life. Make sure to follow channel Living Peacefully today to reflect on the deeper values of life, discover meaningful lessons from Buddhist stories, and find the path to inner peace. Don't forget to like, share, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Dear friends, as we sit here under the shade of the Bodhi tree, surrounded by the serene stillness of nature, let us reflect together on the true meaning of life. Life, whether long or short, is but a blink in the endless flow of time. Yet, in this fleeting moment, humans often chase after fleeting illusions, rarely pausing to ask, why are we here? What is the true purpose of this life? Buddha taught us that life is impermanent, meaning everything is subject to change and nothing lasts forever. Like morning dew that vanishes as the sun rises or a flower that blooms beautifully only to wither with time, life is transient. However, because we fail to comprehend this truth, we cling to attachments and are ensnared by desires, anger, and ignorance. These attachments, like invisible chains, imprison us in cycles of suffering. Have you ever wondered why, even after achieving much in life, you still feel an emptiness inside? It is because we often seek the meaning of life externally, forgetting that the true essence lies within our own hearts. The Buddha taught that life is not a journey of possession but one of understanding and letting go. Life is like a river, flowing through rapids and calm waters alike, ceaselessly. But the river's significance does not lie in its destination, but in how it flows. Similarly, the meaning of our lives lies in living each moment with mindfulness, awareness, and compassion. There is a story of an old Zen master. When a disciple asked him, "Master, what is the meaning of life?" The master gently poured tea into a cup and said, "The meaning of life is to live fully in this moment, like this flowing tea. When you only think of the cup being full or empty, you miss the taste of the tea." Thus, friends, the meaning of life does not lie in what we possess, but in how we perceive. When our minds are filled with greed, we see only suffering. But when our hearts know contentment, everything becomes beautiful. Like the sunlight that shines unconditionally, the essence of life is to live in a way that spreads peace and love, not just for ourselves but for everyone around us. To truly grasp the meaning of life, we must look deeply into its nature. The Buddha taught that life is suffering. This is the first truth of the Four Noble Truths. Yet, this suffering is not meant to lead us to despair but to awaken us to the fact that it is inevitable, as all beings are bound by ignorance and cravings. Only when we recognize this truth can we begin to find liberation, the path to true peace and happiness. Remember, the meaning of life is not about chasing temporary things but about learning to live in harmony with its impermanent nature. When we understand that everything arises and ceases due to interdependent conditions, we will no longer cling to what comes and goes. Let your mind be like a calm lake, reflecting everything but holding on to nothing. Then, the meaning of life will no longer be a question but an answer already present in every breath. Friends, slow down and listen to the heartbeat of life. Live with compassion and wisdom so that every step you take brings peace to yourself and others. Never forget that the value of life is not measured by how long we live but by how we live. A candle that burns briefly but lights up a whole room is more meaningful than one that burns long but gives no light. Take these reflections with you and live in a way that each day is a heartfelt gratitude to life. The meaning of life is not far away, it is here in this moment, in this breath. Dear friends, The story of Alexander the Great, a ruler who once conquered the world, serves as a vivid testament to the impermanence taught by the Buddha. Alexander, who held everything in his hands, power, wealth, and fame, ultimately had to face what no one can escape, death. In his final moments, he left 3 wishes, which not only reflect the profound realization of his life but also echo Buddhist truths about impermanence, suffering, and letting go. Alexander wished for his hands to be left outside his coffin, so that the world could see that even an emperor who once possessed everything ultimately leaves this world empty-handed. This is a profound lesson on impermanence. The Buddha teaches that nothing can be taken with us when we leave this life, neither material possessions, nor fame, nor achievements that we falsely believe to be eternal. Like a drop of dew that evaporates under the morning sun, everything in life comes and goes, leaving us with only the bare essence of our existence. Friends, let us look deeply into Alexander's life. He spent his entire life seeking perfection in power, striving to become the greatest conqueror. Yet, what he failed to realize until the end was that power never truly brings satisfaction. This is a lesson about suffering, as outlined in the 4 Noble Truths. When we cling to external things, power, fame, or wealth, we inevitably suffer from the desires and fears they generate. We think that attaining these things will bring us joy, but in truth, the more we possess, the more we fear losing them and become ensnared. Alexander's empty hands are a poignant reminder that everything we accumulate in life is but an illusion. The reality is that we own nothing. Everything comes to us as fleeting conditions, like waves on the ocean. The Buddha teaches that letting go does not mean abandoning life but rather freeing ourselves from being bound by transient things. Living with detachment means living freely, unburdened by greed, anger, and ignorance. Alexander's second wish was for the best doctors to carry his coffin, to remind everyone that no one can escape birth, aging, sickness, and death. This is a great lesson on the limitations of the human body and power. No matter how advanced science becomes or how mighty one's influence, humanity cannot overcome the laws of the universe. The Buddha teaches that this body is temporary, merely a raft to help us cross the river of birth and death. Yet many mistake the body for everything, spending their lives pampering it while neglecting the soul and mind. True liberation comes not from power or this impermanent body but from cultivation and awakening. Finally, Alexander's wish for his treasures to be scattered along his funeral path serves as a wake-up call about the true value of wealth. Possessions hoarded with greed only bring suffering. But when used to help others and spread happiness, they can bring greater meaning to life. In Buddhist teachings, the Buddha once said that the greatest treasure lies not in the gold or silver one owns, but in the compassion and wisdom one accumulates. Seeds of compassion, when planted and spread, endure far longer than any worldly riches, creating merit that benefits not only this life but many lives to come. Friends, the story of Alexander the Great is not just the story of a king but a reflection of all our lives. No matter who we are or what we achieve, impermanence is inevitable. But rather than fearing or denying it, we can choose to live in harmony with impermanence, learning to let go of attachments and clinging so that our minds are free and serene. View life not as something to possess but as a flowing stream, where every moment is an opportunity to live mindfully, to love, and to plant seeds of happiness. As Alexander realized at the end of his life, what matters most is not what we achieve but how we live with an open heart, with compassion, and with an understanding of impermanence. May we all learn from Alexander's story and embrace life with clarity and awareness, finding freedom in letting go and peace in every step of the journey. In our journey to seek the meaning of life, we often lose ourselves in fleeting pursuits. The story of the young man and the Buddha is a profound illustration of the power of letting go and the importance of freeing the mind from attachments. The young man in the story came to the Buddha, carrying anger and resentment in his words, as though he were unloading the burdens of his suffering. The Buddha, with infinite compassion and wisdom, did not react with anger but gently asked him, "If someone offers you a gift, and you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" This simple yet insightful response unveiled a great truth about the roots of suffering. What others do or say holds no power over us unless we choose to accept it. The Buddha teaches that suffering does not arise from external circumstances but from our own clinging and attachments. When we accept insults or provocations, we imprison ourselves in a cycle of anger. When we cling to unfavorable conditions, we plunge ourselves into misery. But if we learn to let go, releasing negative emotions, we find peace and freedom within. Letting go does not mean abandoning responsibility or fleeing from life. Instead, it is about releasing thoughts and emotions that bind us. The Buddha compared the mind to a flowing river. It does not hold on to what has passed but allows everything to flow naturally. Yet, humans often resemble rivers blocked by stones of anger, greed, and ignorance. These stones are not placed by others but are piled up by ourselves. In the story, when the young man realized that his insults could not disturb the Buddha's serene mind, he began to understand that he was the one suffering from his negative emotions. This marks the transformation from ignorance to wisdom. We cannot control what others do or say, but we can control how we respond. The Buddha taught that when facing adversity, we should turn inward to find peace, rather than seeking validation or retaliation externally. Reflect on this lesson in daily life. When someone hurts you with words or actions, what happens if you do not react or hold on to the negative emotions? That is letting go, allowing unwholesome things to flow away from your mind, like water moving downstream. In Buddhist teachings, letting go extends beyond releasing negativity. It also involves relinquishing excessive desires. We are often bound by greed for material possessions, fame, power, or even recognition. But when we pause and ask ourselves, what truly belongs to me? What remains when I let go of everything? We come to realize that nothing is permanent, and nothing belongs to us forever. The Buddha once said, "Whatever comes, let it come. Whatever goes, let it go. Do not cling to anything." This teaching reminds us that true freedom arises only when we let go of all attachments. Letting go does not cause loss, instead, it liberates us from unnecessary suffering. Friends, live like a lotus in a pond. Whether the water is murky or clear, the lotus remains untainted because it does not hold onto the water. Similarly, let us learn to live in the world without letting its troubles and attachments pollute our minds. Letting go is the path to liberation, the light that guides us to live fully in each moment with peace and serenity. Return to yourself. Practice silence in the face of unwholesome things, so your soul may be like a still lake, reflecting the moon without disturbance. In that stillness of letting go, you will find truth and genuine peace. Dear friends, life is an endless stream of ups and downs, moments of sweetness intertwined with challenges and sorrow. Within this flow, we cannot avoid collisions, wounds, or the trials that arise both from the outside world and within ourselves. The Buddha taught that to navigate the tempests of life, we must cultivate two essential qualities: patience and compassion. These are not merely paths to inner peace but are also guiding lights for living harmoniously with all beings in the universe. In Buddhist teachings, patience is not simply enduring hardships but a profound state of mind where we transform suffering into wisdom and compassion. Patience is the ability to maintain steadiness of heart amid adversity, without being dominated by anger, resentment, or sorrow. When insulted or treated unfairly, reacting with anger only fuels the cycle of suffering, not just for ourselves but for others. However, when we practice patience, keeping our minds as calm as an undisturbed pond, we not only find peace within but also help to still the stormy waves in others. The Buddha taught that patience is one of the highest virtues, as it enables us to overcome the fires of anger. When we are not governed by rage, we perceive the truth of situations more clearly, without emotions clouding our judgment. The Buddha likened patience to a lotus flower growing in muddy waters. Though surrounded by filth, it remains pure and unsullied. Similarly, when we face difficulties, patience keeps our spirit untainted by negativity. However, patience cannot stand alone, it must be accompanied by compassion. Compassion is an all-encompassing love that transcends boundaries and distinctions. It is the ability to empathize deeply with the suffering of others, not just intellectually but with an open and expansive heart. Compassion is not pity but a profound connection with all beings, recognizing their pain as our own. Patience without compassion can become rigid endurance, lacking gentleness and understanding. But when patience is intertwined with compassion, it becomes a transformative force that not only helps us overcome difficulties but also spreads the light of love and harmony. Practicing patience with someone who has caused us harm does not mean we are weak or fearful. Instead, it reflects our recognition that they, too, are suffering, lost in ignorance. Compassion enables us to respond not with hatred but with forgiveness and understanding. Imagine a blazing fire. If we add fuel, it will burn even more fiercely. But if we pour the cool water of compassion onto it, the flames will gradually subside. The same principle applies to anger and discord in life. Only through compassion and patience can we resolve conflicts and bring peace to all parties. When we remain patient in the face of insult, it does not signify weakness but strength, as we demonstrate mastery over ourselves. By treating those who hurt us with compassion, we not only liberate ourselves from suffering but also offer them a chance for transformation. The Buddha taught that all suffering arises from attachment to the self, from overvaluing our own ego. But when we practice patience and compassion, we learn to diminish the ego, creating space for harmony and wisdom. We no longer feel the need to argue to prove we are right or seek revenge to quell our anger. When we embody patience and compassion, our hearts become like a cool, flowing stream that extinguishes the flames of anger. In life, whenever you face difficulties, pause for a moment and reflect, what truly matters? A fleeting victory fueled by anger, or the enduring serenity of the soul? Remember, when we practice patience and compassion, we not only benefit ourselves but also plant seeds of goodness in the soil of life. One day, those seeds will blossom into flowers that bring happiness to all beings. Friends, let us live like a lotus flower spreading fragrance in muddy waters, or like a refreshing stream flowing through arid land. Patience and compassion are the wings that help us soar above life's turbulent seas, guiding us to the shores of peace and liberation. By embodying these virtues, we not only find tranquility for ourselves but also illuminate the world around us, making it a more beautiful and harmonious place. As we gaze upon the swiftly flowing river, we see that the water never ceases to move forward, with no drop ever returning to its exact former position. In the same way, our lives are transient, nothing remains forever. This is the nature of impermanence, a truth the Buddha taught as the key to unlocking the doors of wisdom and liberation. The lesson of impermanence is not merely a reminder, it is also a call for us to live mindfully and cherish every moment of life. Impermanence is a universal law in which everything arises, changes, and eventually dissolves. Each falling leaf, each withering flower, and every setting sun are vivid expressions of impermanence. Yet, in our daily lives, we often forget this truth. We cling to what we hold dear, fear losing what we possess, and suffer when these things change or disappear. The reality is, nothing truly belongs to us forever. From our bodies and possessions to our reputations and even life itself, all are subject to impermanence. The Buddha taught that clinging is the root of suffering. When we resist impermanence, we become ensnared in the cycle of craving, aversion, and delusion. We long to hold on to what is pleasant and push away what is unpleasant. But impermanence does not yield to our desires. It operates according to the natural law, unaffected by anyone's will or ambition. Resisting this truth only intensifies the suffering within our hearts. How, then, can we embrace the lesson of impermanence with mindfulness? The Buddha advised us to practice letting go. Letting go does not mean abandoning everything, it means adopting a non-attached attitude. When we let go, we continue to love but without clinging. We live and enjoy life, but without grasping. Letting go frees us from the mental chains that bind us, allowing our hearts to rest in freedom and peace amid life's constant changes. The lesson of impermanence also reminds us to live with gratitude. When we understand that everything in life is fleeting, we naturally begin to treasure what we have in the present. A moment of love, a shared laugh, or the warmth of a hand in ours becomes profoundly precious when we realize it cannot be repeated. The present is the only true gift we possess, and only by fully embracing it can we experience true peace and happiness. Impermanence is not merely a bearer of loss but also an agent of growth and transformation. Like the wind sweeping through a forest, clearing away old leaves to make space for new buds, impermanence allows for renewal and change. In life, every loss or sorrow is an opportunity, a chance to learn, to let go, to love more deeply, and to grow into a better version of ourselves. Friends, let us see impermanence as a teacher rather than an adversary. The teacher of impermanence humbles us, reminding us that nothing in life is everlasting. This teacher encourages us to live mindfully, as each moment is unique and irretrievable. It also guides us to let go, for only in non-attachment can we find true freedom. When we accept impermanence as an essential part of life, our minds will no longer be disturbed by the ebb and flow of change. We will learn to greet all arrivals and departures with equanimity and clarity. Like a still pond reflecting everything but holding on to nothing, our hearts can embrace life without being troubled by its transformations. As we conclude today's lecture, let us reflect: if everything is impermanent, what truly holds meaning? The answer lies in how we live each day. Live with mindfulness, gratitude, and love. Let go of what is unnecessary, cherish what you have, and sow seeds of goodness in the soil of life. So that when the winds of impermanence blow through, not only will we stand firm, but we will also bloom beautifully amidst life's ceaseless changes.